What would you have done? Imagine this. You walk into a luxury hotel, dressed sharp, polite, ready to check in. But instead of a warm welcome, you get a cold, dismissive, "Sorry, we're fully booked." Minutes later, someone else walks in and suddenly there's a room available. What would you do? Call them out? Demand an explanation? Walk away in frustration? Well, one man faced that exact situation. But instead of arguing, he walked away with a plan. And by the next morning, he didn't just check into that hotel, he owned it. This isn't just a story about revenge. It's about power, change, and proving a point without saying a word. But before we dive in, I want to hear from you. Have you ever been judged unfairly? How did you handle it? Drop a comment below. I'm genuinely curious. And if you're ready for a story that will make you rethink the way you handle setbacks, hit that like button, because this one is worth it. Now, let's get into it. The storm rolled over New York City, thunder rumbling in the distance as heavy rain pounded the streets. Noah Carter pulled his sleek silver Aston Martin into the circular driveway of the Lexington Royale, one of Manhattan's most prestigious hotels. The golden glow from the lobby's chandeliers spilled onto the wet pavement, casting a warm contrast to the cold night air. For most, the Lexington Royale was a haven, a sanctuary of luxury and comfort. But tonight, for Noah, it would be neither. Stepping out of his car, he adjusted the cuffs of his tailored charcoal gray suit. At 45 years old, Noah carried himself with the quiet confidence of a man who had built an empire from the ground up. His 6'3" frame exuded authority, his presence commanding without effort. The rain dripped from the edges of his coat as his polished black leather shoes echoed softly against the marble floor when he stepped inside. The scent of fresh-cut roses mixed with the rich aroma of espresso from the hotel's lounge. The soft hum of jazz played from the grand piano in the corner, and well-dressed guests sipped cocktails at the bar. It was the kind of place where the wealthy came to indulge in comfort. Noah approached the front desk, offering the receptionist a polite, effortless smile. "Good evening," he said, his deep voice calm. "I'd like a room for the night. My flight was canceled, and I'll need a place to stay before I head out tomorrow." The receptionist, a young man with slicked-back blonde hair, barely looked up. His name tag read, Bradley. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, typing at a snail's pace, his expression unreadable. "I'm sorry, sir," he said flatly, not sounding sorry at all. "We're fully booked." Noah glanced around. The lobby was far from full, and the arrival of an elevator only revealed a single guest stepping out. His expression remained unchanged, his smile unwavering. "Fully booked?" he repeated. "Not a single room available?" Bradley finally looked up, his lips curling into a practiced, insincere smile. "That's correct. There's nothing available." Before Noah could respond, the revolving doors spun open. A middle-aged couple entered, their designer luggage rolling behind them. Bradley's entire demeanor shifted instantly. His stiff posture relaxed, his fake smile turned warm, and his voice, once indifferent, became welcoming. "Welcome to the Lexington Royale," he said with enthusiasm. "Do you have a reservation?" The man shook his head. "No problem," Bradley said cheerfully. "Let me check our availability." Noah stood motionless, his calm mask slipping just slightly as he watched Bradley's fingers fly across the keyboard. Within seconds, the clerk produced a key card, handing it to the couple with a bright smile. "Enjoy your stay," Bradley said warmly. Noah let a beat of silence pass before clearing his throat, drawing Bradley's attention back. "I thought you said you were fully booked." Bradley's eyes flickered with brief hesitation, his fake confidence faltering. I meant we don't have anything that would suit your needs." Noah felt the weight of the moment settle in. It wasn't about availability. It wasn't about him being a last-minute guest. It was about something far uglier. Racism wasn't always loud. Sometimes it came with a smile, a polite excuse, a refusal wrapped in carefully chosen words. The realization hit, but Noah didn't react. Instead, he straightened his posture, his face unreadable. "Thank you for your time," he said, his voice as composed as when he had walked in. Without another word, he turned on his heel and strode out into the rain. But this wasn't the end of the night. It was only the beginning. The rain poured as Noah stepped onto the sidewalk, the cold droplets soaking into his suit. He barely noticed. His mind was calm, sharp as ever, despite the sting of the encounter. Under the hotel's awning, he pulled out his phone, scrolling through a list of nearby hotels. His fingers hovered over the screen, but his thoughts remained fixed on what had just happened. Something about it stuck with him, like a bitter aftertaste that wouldn't fade. He leaned casually against a marble pillar, just out of sight of the lobby but close enough to observe. It didn't take long to confirm his suspicions. A young man, barely in his 20s, wearing ripped jeans and a hoodie, strolled in. He looked exhausted, his backpack slung low over one shoulder. Noah watched as he approached Bradley with the same request he had made only minutes earlier, a room for the night. Noah couldn't hear the conversation, but he didn't need to. Bradley's exaggerated nods and bright, welcoming expression said everything. Within moments, the young man was handed a keycard. No hesitation, no excuses, just a swift transaction and a courteous farewell. Noah pressed his lips into a firm line. It wasn't a misunderstanding, it wasn't an accident, it was intentional. For a moment, his first instinct was to walk back inside, to confront Bradley, to expose the hypocrisy right there in the middle of the grand lobby. But Noah Carter hadn't built his billion-dollar empire by making rash decisions. Years of navigating boardrooms, negotiating high-stakes deals, and outmaneuvering those who underestimated him had taught him something valuable. There was a time to speak, and there was a time to act. Tonight, he would do the latter. Slipping back into his Aston Martin, Noah drove off into the night. The golden lights of the Lexington Royale faded in his rearview mirror, but his resolve burned brighter than ever. They had no idea who they had just turned away, but by tomorrow, they would. Noah drove through the rain-slicked streets of New York, the rhythmic swish of the windshield wipers matching the steady beat of his thoughts. His grip on the wheel was firm, not out of anger, but focus. He had learned long ago that anger was wasted energy. A mistake had been made tonight. Not by him, by them. The Lexington Royale had dismissed him like he was insignificant. They thought he was just another man who would accept their rejection and walk away, carrying his quiet humiliation into the night. They had no idea who they were dealing with. As he navigated through the city, his destination became clear. He pulled into the parking lot of an all-night cafe, a modest spot tucked between two towering office buildings. The neon sign buzzed faintly, Manny's Diner. It was the kind of place where time moved a little slower, where coffee was served strong, and where the working-class heroes of the city gathered after long shifts. Inside, the scent of bacon and fresh coffee filled the air. A waitress, no older than 20, approached him with a tired but kind smile, setting a steaming mug in front of him without a word. Noah nodded his thanks, then pulled out his laptop. The Lexington Royale was already on his mind before he even touched the keyboard. He had been eyeing the property for months. The hotel was part of a struggling luxury chain, its financial troubles quietly discussed in investment circles. Until tonight, it had been nothing more than a passing interest, just another asset in a world of opportunities. But now, it was personal. Within minutes, he dialed his attorney. "Lisa, I need the paperwork on the Lexington Royale finalized by morning," he said, his voice calm but commanding. There was a brief pause on the other end of the line. "By morning?" Lisa Reynolds, one of the sharpest real estate lawyers in the business, rarely sounded surprised. "Noah, that's aggressive, even for you." "Consider it done," he said simply. Lisa didn't argue. She knew better. "I'll get started." Noah hung up and stared out the window, watching the city lights shimmer against the rain-streaked glass. He didn't just want to own the hotel. He wanted to make a statement. A lesson needed to be taught. "All right, I need to pause the story for just a second, because there's something here that we can't ignore. I don't know what you've been through, but I do know this. At some point, someone is going to underestimate you. They'll overlook you, dismiss you, act like you don't belong. Maybe it's already happened. Maybe it's happening right now. And in that moment, you'll have a choice. You can fight for their approval, try to prove yourself, waste your energy demanding respect, or you can walk away. Not in defeat, but with a plan, and come back when the power is in your hands." See, Noah didn't waste time arguing with a hotel clerk. He knew the truth. Real power isn't about making people acknowledge your worth, it's about making moves so big they have to. So next time someone doubts you, don't argue. Win. Now let's get back to it. As the first light of dawn stretched over Manhattan, Noah stepped out of his car in front of the Lexington Royale. This time, he wasn't a guest, he was the new owner. Dressed in a perfectly tailored navy blue suit, he adjusted his cufflinks, casting a slow, measured glance up at the hotel's towering structure. The place exuded exclusivity, elegance, power. But underneath the polished marble and designer furnishings, it had cracks. Ones Noah now had the authority to expose. The lobby bustled with early morning staff preparing for another day of catering to the city's elite. Bradley was already behind the counter, his practiced smile firmly in place as he greeted a well-dressed couple checking out. He didn't notice Noah enter. Not at first. Noah took his time. He absorbed the space, watching the quiet exchanges between staff members. Some employees moved with precision, well-trained in the art of luxury service. Others exchanged fleeting glances, already sensing that something was different. Then, finally, he approached the front desk. Bradley turned with the same automatic smile he had used the night before. "Good morning, sir. How can I help you?" His words faltered. Something in Noah's presence made him hesitate. The recognition flickered in his eyes, but it wasn't until Noah placed a sleek black folder on the counter that his expression truly shifted. The folder was small, but the weight of what was inside was massive. Noah flipped it open slowly, deliberately. Inside, a stack of legal documents bore signatures, official seals, and one undeniable fact. The Lexington Royale now belonged to him. Bradley's face paled. His eyes darted to the papers, then back to Noah. "I don't understand." Noah met his gaze with quiet authority. "I'll make it simple," he said, his voice smooth, deliberate. "As of 6 a.m. this morning, the Lexington Royale is under new ownership." A hush fell over the lobby. The quiet rustling of papers, the muted sounds of guests chatting, it all seemed to freeze. Bradley swallowed hard. But that's not possible." Noah's smile was calm, unwavering. "Oh, it's very possible," he said. "And last night, I had the pleasure of experiencing firsthand how some of the staff treat their guests." He let his words settle, watching as Bradley's confidence crumbled. "Let's just say, I was unimpressed." Bradley opened his mouth, but no words came out. Noah raised a hand, silencing any weak attempt at an excuse. "No need to explain," he said smoothly. "Your actions last night spoke for themselves." He turned slightly, letting his gaze sweep across the other employees who had stopped in their tracks to watch. Some looked guilty. Others seemed almost relieved. Noah took a step back, straightening his jacket. "This hotel is about to change," he continued, his voice carrying through the lobby. "I believe in running businesses that stand for fairness, respect, and inclusivity. Unfortunately, the Lexington Royale has fallen far short of that standard." He let the weight of his words sink in before finishing. "That changes today." Bradley's face was ghostly pale, and Noah, he had never looked more in control. The morning sun bathed the Lexington Royale in golden light, its glass facade gleaming against the Manhattan skyline. Inside, the hotel hummed with quiet efficiency, staff moving swiftly to prepare for another day of catering to their affluent guests. Behind the front desk, Bradley stood poised as ever, his polished demeanor firmly in place. The same fake smile, the same routine. He had no idea what was coming. Noah stepped inside, his presence commanding yet calm. Unlike the night before, this time he wasn't just another guest, he was the owner. He took his time, his sharp eyes scanning the space with a fresh perspective. The staff, once oblivious to his presence, now exchanged subtle glances as they passed. A flicker of unease, a silent question hanging between them. They could sense something was different. When Noah finally approached the front desk, Bradley looked up, his rehearsed smile snapping into place. "Good morning, sir. How can I help you today?" Noah didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into his coat and placed a sleek black folder on the counter. Its pristine edges contrasted starkly against the polished marble. He opened it slowly, deliberately, revealing a stack of legal documents, signed, stamped, and undeniable. Bradley's smile faltered. Confusion flickered across his face. "I'm here to make an introduction," Noah began, his voice even, controlled. "My name is Noah Carter, and as of 6 a.m. this morning, I am the new owner of the Lexington Royale." A sharp silence fell over the lobby. Conversations hushed, movement stilled. Across the room, staff members froze mid-task, their heads turning toward the front desk. Bradley's face drained of color. His composure, so carefully maintained, began to crumble. "I don't understand," he stammered. The usual slick confidence in his voice was gone. Noah met his gaze, unwavering. "Let me make it simple," he said, his tone calm yet firm. "This hotel now belongs to me, and last night I had the pleasure of experiencing firsthand how some of the staff treat potential guests." He let the words sink in before adding, "Let's just say I was unimpressed." Bradley's mouth opened, but no words came out. Noah lifted a hand, silencing any weak attempt at an excuse. "No need to explain," he said smoothly. "Actions speak louder than words. And your actions?" He leaned forward slightly. They spoke volumes. He turned away from Bradley and addressed the gathering staff. Their faces reflected a mix of apprehension and curiosity, their postures tense. "I believe in businesses that stand for fairness, respect, and integrity," Noah declared, his voice carrying through the space. "Unfortunately, this hotel has fallen far short of that standard. But that changes, starting today." The tension in the air was thick. Some employees shifted uncomfortably, while others stood a little taller, as if a long unspoken truth had finally been acknowledged. "You will all have the opportunity to grow in this new chapter," Noah continued. "But let me be clear. Anyone who refuses to treat every guest with dignity and professionalism will have no place here." His gaze flicked back to Bradley, whose face was now a shade of deep red. "As for you," Noah said coolly, "your actions last night make it clear you do not belong in the future of this hotel." He straightened his jacket. "You're dismissed, effective immediately." A sharp inhale rippled through the room. Bradley's jaw dropped. You can't be serious." "Oh, I'm very serious." A long pause. Then reality sank in. Bradley's face twisted in anger, his hands clenching into fists, but there was nothing he could do. No counteroffer, no fake apology would save him now. With a muttered curse, he grabbed his things and stormed toward the exit. The heavy glass doors swung shut behind him, leaving behind only the echo of his footsteps. Noah remained unfazed. His focus had already shifted. The remaining staff still stood in silence, uncertainty etched into their expressions. But within that uncertainty, Noah saw something else: hope. He let the quiet stretch for a moment before speaking again. "This isn't just about last night," he said, his voice steady. "This is about the culture of this hotel, the message it sends, the experience it provides to every person who walks through these doors." He scanned the room, making sure his words sank in. "What happened last night wasn't just an insult to me. It was a reflection of something bigger, a mindset that has no place here." He paused. "From this moment forward, the Lexington Royale will stand for respect, inclusion, and excellence." A murmur of agreement moved through the staff. Noah nodded. "That means change, starting with new policies, new expectations, and yes, new training." His eyes landed on a young woman standing near the concierge desk. She had been silent the entire time, but her expression was one of quiet determination. "What's your name?" he asked. She straightened slightly. "Leah," she replied, her voice careful. Noah gave her a small, reassuring smile. "Well, Leah," he said, "you and the rest of the team will undergo comprehensive training to ensure every guest feels valued, regardless of who they are or where they come from." Leah nodded, a hint of relief flickering across her face. Across the room, other staff members exchanged glances, some still skeptical, others clearly hopeful. Noah could feel the shift. Change wouldn't be easy, but it was necessary, and it had already begun. The tension that had filled the Lexington Royale just minutes ago was beginning to ease. Noah could see it in the way the staff stood, shoulders no longer so stiff, their expressions no longer clouded with uncertainty. The fear of sudden, uncontrollable change was fading, replaced by something else: understanding. But this was only the beginning. "Let me be clear about something else," Noah continued, his voice calm but firm. "I'm not here to punish anyone unfairly. Mistakes happen. Growth is possible, if you're willing to embrace it." He let his gaze move slowly across the room, making sure each person felt the weight of his words. "If you're ready to be part of this change, there's a place for you here. But if not, then it's better for all of us to part ways now." A heavy silence settled over the room. It wasn't a threat. It was an invitation. This hotel had the potential to be more than just another luxury property. It could be a standard bearer, a symbol of what hospitality should be, and with the right team, Noah knew it was possible. He took a small step back, letting the message sink in. The atmosphere had already shifted. Where there had been hesitation, now there was something resembling hope. "I've already put things in motion," he added. "A new general manager will be arriving next week, and renovation plans begin immediately. This is a fresh start for all of us." Then, with a faint smile, he said, "Let's make this hotel something we can all be proud of." A ripple of murmurs spread through the staff. Some exchanged glances, others whispered quietly. Noah could tell that his words had landed. The foundation for something new had been laid. The transformation of the Lexington Royale was nothing short of revolutionary. Within days, construction crews arrived, bringing the outdated hotel into the modern era. Cold, impersonal walls were repainted in warm, inviting tones. The once intimidating, exclusive atmosphere of the lobby was replaced with a space that felt welcoming, where anyone who walked through the doors would feel like they belonged. But it wasn't just about aesthetic changes. Noah knew that real transformation came from within. He refused to be the kind of leader who issued orders from behind a desk. Instead, he was present, walking the floors, speaking with guests, engaging with staff, making sure the vision was clear to everyone. And soon, his energy became infectious, redefining hospitality from the inside out. The training sessions became the backbone of the hotel's new culture. Experts were brought in to lead workshops, not just about customer service, but about diversity, equity, and inclusion. These weren't dry corporate lectures. They were conversations. Staff shared their experiences. They confronted their own biases. They learned what it meant to truly create an environment of genuine hospitality, not just for the wealthy, not just for a select few, but for everyone. And from those conversations, leaders emerged. One of them was Leah. The young concierge Noah had spoken to on his first morning as owner quickly became one of the strongest members of the team. Her natural empathy and problem-solving skills set her apart, earning her a promotion to assistant manager. "I never thought I'd have this kind of opportunity," she admitted to Noah during one of their check-ins. He simply smiled. "You earned it." A reputation transformed. Word of the hotel's transformation spread quickly. Former guests, intrigued by the rumors, returned to see the changes for themselves. New guests, drawn by the buzz of a luxury hotel that now championed inclusivity, began booking reservations. Reviews poured in, and they weren't just about the stunning new decor or high-end accommodations. People talked about the atmosphere, about the kindness and respect that now defined every guest interaction. The hotel that had once been known for its exclusivity and prejudice was now being celebrated for something far more powerful: excellence and inclusion. Noah made sure that the stories of his team, those who had grown and thrived through this transformation, were shared. Because change wasn't just possible, it was powerful. It was a crisp, clear morning when Noah stood in the newly renovated lobby, a cup of freshly brewed coffee in hand. Sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows, reflecting off polished marble floors. Fresh flowers adorned the space, adding life and warmth. The lobby bustled with activity, guests checking in, staff greeting them with genuine warmth, concierge agents assisting travelers. Everything about this hotel felt different now. Noah took a slow sip of coffee, allowing himself a rare moment to appreciate just how far things had come. Just then, Leah approached, a clipboard in hand. "Mr. Carter," she said, a hint of excitement in her voice. "The final guest survey results are in." Noah set his coffee down and turned to face her, a knowing smile forming. "Let's see what they have to say." Leah handed Noah the clipboard, her eyes bright with anticipation. "Over 90% of visitors mentioned hospitality as the highlight of their stay," she said. Noah smiled, setting his coffee down. "That's what I like to hear, Leah. It's not just about the building, it's about the people in it." She nodded before hurrying off to handle another task, leaving Noah with a rare moment to reflect. This had been more than a business move. It had been a statement, a reminder of what happens when you stand up for what's right. He thought back to that night, the quiet rejection, the unspoken prejudice. That moment had sparked a transformation, not just in the hotel, but in everyone involved, including himself. Meanwhile, across town, Bradley, the former front desk clerk, had learned his own lessons. News of his dismissal had spread quickly. Doors that had once been open to him shut, Job opportunities in the luxury hotel industry vanished. Eventually, he found work at a small, struggling motel, a far cry from the world he had once felt entitled to. Here, he no longer had the power to choose who deserved good service. He had to serve everyone. And for the first time, he began to understand the weight of his actions. Back at the Lexington Royale, Noah noticed a family entering, a father, mother, and 2 young children. The father, a tall man with confident energy, bore a striking resemblance to Noah himself. As they passed, he paused, extending his hand. "I read about what you did here," the man said. "It's inspiring. Thank you." Noah shook his hand, warmth in his expression. "This place is for everyone now," he replied. "That's how it should have always been." The family moved on, disappearing into the bustling lobby. Noah turned toward the entrance, inhaling deeply. His heart felt lighter. He had built many things in his life: companies, fortunes, legacies. But this was different. This was personal. And in the end, the Lexington Royale was no longer just a hotel. It was a symbol. A reminder that change begins with a single act of courage, and the unwavering belief that every person deserves respect. My friend, we've just experienced this story together. You're still here, aren't you? If you've made it this far, that means something in this story has truly resonated with you, inspired you, challenged you, or maybe even changed the way you see things. Because this wasn't just a story. This happens in real life. And the truth is, when you step back, when you rise above, you start to see the world from a higher perspective. You start to notice the hidden struggles, the silent injustices, the moments where power isn't always used the right way. And now I have to ask you, what did this story make you realize? What deeper truth did it reveal to you? I want to hear your thoughts, the ones that come from deep within. Drop a comment below. Let's talk. And if this story moved you, if it made you think, hit that subscribe button. Because there are more stories like this, ones that will challenge your perspective, inspire you, and remind you of the power you hold. You can't always control how the world treats you, but you can control how you respond. And sometimes the best response isn't to fight, it's to rise.